Kelly's off the board, Adam. What do you have on him?
A veritable interception machine. He holds his college's single-game record for interceptions in a game, snagging 3. Scouts pointed to an almost sixth sense when the ball was in the air, and Matt Miller had him ranked as the top defensive back in the draft in his final mock. True lockdown defensive backs are few and far between, and this is a pick that should solidify this team's pass defense for years to come. It'll be very interesting to see if opposing offenses go right after him, and how if he shows any rust after being avoided for much of his final year in college.
The Falcons are now on the clock.
I got that in like Tommy Lee. I make money. On my third best front in them. I got the airport. I got Bowling Green dollars on my dollars. Busting down 100 in the bathtub. Get some house shoes. I got money. I got war wounds. Get the coaching on that. Ain't no dance moves. I was posted on the stoop, hanging with my Haitians. On the news, on front pages. Ain't no relations. I was stacking being fresh and bossing. 2 times in a row, that's a repeat. You end up, cause they easy. I'm in the freezy. She love me like she need me. I got my Maybach flooded out with extra TVs. I make up every single day. I judge a vulture when I flip the paddock face. Dead president, hit the dead president. Dead president, hit them dead president. Let's go, all my little militant. Let's go, I'm innocent. Dead president, hit them dead president. Dead president, hit them dead president. Fast. Let's go, I'm innocent. Hands on me, got the yellow brace. Check off in my pocket like the yellow paste. Was when I was asking. Low facility, I keep it classy. Build an empire, yeah, that was my state of mind. Yeah, that was my state of mind. Keep the blocks over there, we call it Lego.
The Browns are now on the clock.
It's like it's Amsterdam. Boy, fresh, you know who got the tropes. 16 when I bought my first.
Pick's been made. Let's go to Adam Schefter to hear more about the player.
He's a Heisman-winning defender. Let me say that one more time. He won the Heisman, and he's a defensive player. Need I say more? You can imagine how well he played this season to win the biggest award in college over several offensive playmakers. The trophy was well-deserved, and according to Matt Miller, he projects really well as a defender in the NFL. I think this is a home run pick, and it's great to see a defender get some well-deserved recognition.
I go out for my squad and I put that on. Squad? All I got is my word and my word is my bond. Squad? Yeah. They gon' look at you different when you moving forward. But you stick to the code you get.
The Buccaneers are now on the clock.
Yeah. I go extra high for my entourage. Check my repertoire. Jim Jones, everywhere I go, you know it's reppin' time. It's reppin' time. When Latifah ready, when we set it off, we set it off. If they sleeping on me, I'ma wake them up. They fakers. I really do. I'm caking up, the rent is due. Plus I got my mama and my kiddies too. They growing up. Time is moving faster. What we wasting for? No holding back. Got a lot to prove. I owe you that we all we got. I go out for my squad and I put that on. Squad. All I got is my word and my word is my bond. Squad. Yeah, they gon' look at you different when you moving forward. And show this. but just stick to the code, you get yours.
The Buccaneers pick is in. Let's go to Adam, who has more on Gregory.
Matt Miller told me to look at a certain stat in regards to this defensive back, and that's average number of targets in a game. Not surprisingly, you see that number start to fall each week. He was a master of the bait and switch early in the year, on track to break records midway through the season. Eventually, quarterbacks gave up altogether trying to throw the ball in his direction, essentially taking away a receiver on every play. There's going to be an adjustment period now that he's in the NFL, but he certainly has the potential to be a shutdown defender for this team in the future.
All I got is my word, and my word is my bond. Yeah. They gon' look at you different when you moving forward. But just stick to the code, you get.
The Ravens are now on the clock. All right, team is now off the clock. Adam Schefter, can you tell us about their newest player?
No receiver put on a greater show at his pro day than he did. His former coach told me he purposefully had the quarterback throw the ball away from his body during passing drills. It forced him to react to the ball, extend for it, and make some spectacular catches. If he can make those same catches with NFL-caliber defenders covering him, he has the potential to be a dangerous weapon, and that's exactly what the team is hoping for.
Starts with a feeling when you ride it like a wave, crashing so the sparks can come together. Don't need a reason why the universe was made. It goes on and on and on and on forever. And it's a long flight on this battle star where we fight for love no matter where we are.
The Giants are now on the clock.
And there's a big bang in this universe, and it makes me feel like the gold on work. You got me like, ooh. You got me like, You got me like, and ooh. With all the things you do. Yeah, anything and everything I make you feel. Well, honey, I feel it with you. Baby, you're flashing, and I'm blinded by your light. I love the way you Jupiter is rising. You got me reacting like a lunatic tonight. I love the way the stars are all aligning. You got me like, ooh. You got me like, You got me like, and ooh. With all the things you do. Yeah, anything and everything I make you feel. Well, honey, I feel it with you. You got me like, ooh. I feel it with you.
You make me feel like the world's spinning like a satellite. You make me feel like
The Vikings are now on the clock.
You got me like, ooh. You got me like, You got me like, and ooh. With all the things you do. Yeah, anything and everything I make you feel. Well, honey, I feel it with you. Girl, you got me like, come on,
The Colts are now on the clock.
You got me like, ooh. You got me like, You got me like, ooh. I feel you. Yeah, yeah. You got me like, You got me like, yeah.
The Rams are now on the clock.
Yeah. you know I've been ballin'. Ay, yeah, you know I've been ballin'. Ay, every day I'm shot callin'. I'm a spray, make it rain just to let you know I've been ballin'. Ay, yeah, I've been ballin'. Yeah, just to let you know I'm ballin'. I'm a spray, make it rain just to let you know. Tell a hater get up out my face. Yeah, I've been ballin' since like yesterday.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
I've been away. All this money in the way. You know that I'm walking with the bank. Water, diamond on my ring. You know that I'm rockin' feel the blue. You know that, yeah, you know I've been ballin'. Ay, yeah, you know I've been ballin'. Ay, every day I'm shot callin'. I'm a spray, make it rain just to let you know I've been ballin'. Ay, yeah, I've been ballin'. Yeah, just to let you know I'm ballin'. I'm a spray, make it rain just to let you know. Yeah, you cannot see me, the windows is tinted. Yeah, driving around right in that Bentley. Ay, you driving around right in that Bentley. Ay, but your shit, it should be rented. Ay, but that is none of my business. Ay, money won't stop me, go straight to the top. Believe it or not, just like in the same. Yeah, she know I'm a rock star. Looking at my chain, on my diamonds rock hard. Turned the way up, I ain't getting tired. And if you wanna race, then we gonna ride. Yeah, you know I've been ballin'. Ay, yeah, you know I've been ballin'. Ay, every day I'm shot callin'. I'm a spray,
The Eagles are now on the clock.
make it rain just to let you know I've been ballin'.
Eagles have made their selection. For more about him, let's go to Adam Schefter.
He was one of the favorites to come out of the pro days purely for his want and desire to do everything the coaches and scouts asked him to do. He ran drill after drill, sometimes a second or third time, using a different technique. He didn't necessarily kill any single drill, but what he did do was display the ability to take instruction well and a great ability to adjust to different scenarios. He's a defensive back I can see playing any role in the secondary with some aptitude. We'll just see how the team plans to use him come September.
I heard these always hating, said I'm never
The Panthers are now on the clock.
talking with them. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I heard he's mad at me cause I'm getting money. I heard he's mad at me cause he's on me. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I heard he's mad at me cause I'm shining. They ain't seen it when I'm young, out here grinding. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, yeah. Either way, young, getting paid, yeah. I heard he's mad at me cause I'm poppin'. They don't wanna put some money in my pockets. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, yeah. Either way, a hater always gonna hate, yeah. Mad at me cause I'm tryna feed my I'm supposed to make it out and I don't bring my No way, no way, no way, yeah. They ones and they here to stay, yeah. I heard he's always hating, said I'll never make it. I heard he's always talking with them. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, yeah. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, yeah. I heard he's mad at me cause I'm getting money. I heard he's mad at me cause he's on me. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, yeah. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, yeah.
I heard he tryna lie me, but I ain't no dummy. It's okay, though, got it, you really want it. I spent 13 on the ring and now I feel unlucky. Hey, she love my diamond ring, she said she wanna touch it. It's okay, I get 30K just to hit the stage. Sip, hit my Michael, in my Michael J. I get cake, I cannot complain. Been finessing since I was a kid. In the second grade, selling lemonade. Get paid, hold up, wait, can I get paid? Yawn, in a break, feel like I'm in space. See a snake, kill a snake, get paid. Get left every day, so get your
Straight. I heard these always hating, said I never make it. I heard these.
All right, let's go to Adam Schefter, who's got more on this pick.
He was one of the most dominant pass rushers in college football last year, getting everyone's attention after netting over 20 sacks and setting a new school record. He started seeing double teams at the line midway through the season, and that still didn't stop him from getting to the quarterback. Scouts all agree that he has a rare combination of strength and burst off the line that make him a threat on almost every play. He's a real difference maker for a defense, and he should be a starter for this defensive line in no time.
You was supposed to be my dog, why you hate on me? They say success turn your friends to some enemies. That is crazy, cause it's shining now you act shady. Yeah, but I guess it's okay. My mama told me you would show me your ways. Yeah, but I gotta check with him. I had to bang.
The Redskins are now on the clock.
Diamonds on me look like Ernie. Ernie's always hating, said I never make it. Ernie's always talking with them. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Ernie's mad at me cause I'm getting money. Ernie's mad at me cause he's on me. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
You're getting way too big for your boots. You're never too big for the boot. I got the big size toes on my feet. Your face ain't big for my boots. Kick up the you. Man, know that I kick up the you. Then boy there try to suck the truth. How dare you to suck the truth? Look, you're getting way too big for your boots. You're never too big for the boot. I got the big size toes on my feet. Your face ain't big for my boots. Kick up the you. Man, know that I kick up the you. Then boy there try to suck the truth. How dare you to suck the truth? Wanna come round there like a bad boy, do it. Want all the talking, go on and do it. Running through the party, bottle up. Rolls on my ear saying storms, don't do it. Double on my shoulder, I don't lack. Getting with the business, I don't scrap. Even when I'm bar, I'm so used.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
Clown, stand down, never had a thing, never had a pound. You were never bad then, you ain't bad now. Never had a then look back down. Wait, I saw bare kicks, saw bare clothes. Said not that, I can't wear those. I don't like them, they're not my thing. They went silent, they're all weirdos. Like yeah, storms gone clear. Never had a Tom Ford or a Montclair. Man, them I can't, but you see my done there. Tell them don't do it, don't dare. Don't care who you know from my block. You're not Al Capone, they can take my car and my creps. I'll still do the road in my socks. Like who's gonna stop me? You, him, little man. I got blue slims. Don't be an idiot, move smart. I've been killing it, new king. You ain't ready for my new stuff. You're a boy by yourself, go and group up. And when Crep went states for the BTs, I was covering Crep like a boot cut. If mad, it's a family thing, straight family thing. Dumb man, I broke no salary thing. Had a young thing called Amy telling me to come round hers on a Valerie thing. Hashtag Murky Academy thing. You were like art and the gallery thing. Dumb boy there wanna chat about bars, wanna chat about. You're getting way too big for your boots. You're never too big for the boot. I got the big size toes on my feet. Your face ain't big for my boots. Kick up the you. Man, know that I kick up the you. Then boy there try to suck the truth.
The Redskins are now on the clock.
Look, I'm too hot. I got money in my shoebox. I'm the man of the house when my show sold out like the brother from the Boondocks. Beat Swan in my boombox. Still meat from the stew pot. Man, I'm go sick when my tune drops. Little man, that's a hooplo, not a hoopla. What? Pronounce it right. I got magic, I'm down to die for this. I don't care, bro, I'm down. Man stressed, so I'm bound to like my slips. Wait, I'm bound to ride for flips. Real G's gonna ride around to this. Man, I got no time to write at this. I never left my 9 to 5 for this waste man thing. I don't care what rave man's in.
The Packers are now on the clock.
Young boy take man's things. Try to tell me I'm way too big to rebel. Nah man, you're never too big to rebel. I was in the O2 singing my lungs out rude, but you're never too big for Adele. Leave my yard, blow a kiss to my girl. Salute to my sister as well. Gotta keep trophies down at my mum's bit. Man, I'm getting way too big for my shelf. Man, I see bare MCs on the sideline, but I still got a couple bangs in the pipeline. Man, I got grown men at me. You're getting way too old for the timeline. You're getting way too old for a diss. Should've looked after your kids. Get out the booth, go home to your son. It's never too late to commit. It's like man, love, put my name in a random flag, get a plane to Qatar. This year I learned how to take care of business. Next year I'll learn how to play the guitar. You're getting way too big for your boots. You're never too big for the boot. I got the big size.
The Titans are now on the clock.
Kick up the you. Man, know that I kick up the you. Then boy there try to suck the truth. How dare you to suck the truth? Look, you're getting way too big for your boots. You're never too big for the boot. I got the big size toes on my feet. Your face ain't big for my boots. Kick up the you. Man, know that I kick up the you. Them boys.
The Bears are now on the clock.
How dare you twist up the truth?
I got loyalty, got royalty inside my DNA. Quarter piece, got war and peace inside my DNA. I got power, poison, pain, and joy inside my DNA. I got hustle, though, ambition, flow inside my DNA. I was born like this, and born like this, immaculate conception. I transform like this, perform like this with new weapon. I don't contemplate, I meditate. Then off your head. This that put the kids to bed. This that I got.
All right, now that the pick's in, let's go to Adam. Adam, what can you tell us about this guy?
A tremendous physical talent, his draft stock plummeted after a well-documented battle with costly drops during a series of meaningful games this season. Sources have told me that when he's actually catching the ball, he's one of the most formidable wideouts in this year's draft. But he has to stop looking upfield in hopes of making big plays before catching the ball. Draft experts feel he has tremendous upside, helping GMs to overlook any issues he may have securing the football. Whether or not he can cut down on the drops and become the superstar wide receiver that this team believes he can be should be one of the more interesting storylines coming out of this year's draft.
Tolerate the front, like been through probably offend you. This is Parler's oldest son. I know conviction burners, boosters, ballers, dead, redemption scholars, fathers, kids, and I wish I was fed forgiveness. Yeah. Soldier's DNA, born inside the beast. My expertise checked out in second grade when I was.
The Jaguars are now on the clock.
Where to stay at 29? I've done so well, hit cartwheel in my estate, and I'm gon' shine like I'm supposed to. Antisocial extrovert, and excellent meaning extra work, and absentness you hurt, and passiveness never struck my nerve, and that's a riff gonna be this case. The reason my power's here on earth, salute the truth from the prophecy. I got loyalty, got royalty inside
This is
my
why
DNA.
I say that hip-hop has done more damage to young African Americans in recent years.
I live about my DNA. This is my heritage, all I'm inheriting. Money and power, the maker emeritus.
The Saints are now on the clock.
Can't tell me nothing. I'd rather do than to listen to you. My DNA not for imitation. Your DNA an abomination. This how it is when you in the matrix. Dodging bullets, reaping what you're sowing. Stacking up the footage, living on the go and sleeping in the villa. Sipping from a Grammy, walking in the building, diamond in the ceiling.
The Broncos are now on the clock.
Peeking out the window, baby in the pool. Godfather goes, only Lord knows. I've been going hammer, dodging paparazzi. Through the cameras, eat it for $4. Brock wearing sandals, yoga on a Monday, stretching to November. Watching all the snakes, curving all the fakes. Phone never own, I don't conversate, I don't compromise. I just penetrate money. These are the breaks, these are the times. Level number 9, look up in the sky. Tennis on the way, sinners on the way, on the way. I got winners on the way. You ain't without a on your belt. You ain't without a ticket on your plate. You ain't sick enough to put it on yourself.
Adam, what can you tell us about that last pick?
The foundation of any good team starts up front, and here's a guy who's a franchise's dream come true. GMs I talked to pointed to several of his games in college where he took on some of the nation's best defensive linemen, going toe-to-toe with them for 60 minutes of brutal trench combat and dominating them. He's going to be able to protect the franchise quarterback in addition to opening up holes for the run game. With size, speed, and strength, he should have a very successful NFL career.
Doing styles on them like it's common sense. Hopped out the Benz like it's common sense. Got a monkey on my feet like it's common sense. Got gorillas in the streets like it's common sense. Stack the money heads up like it's second nature. Gotta stay pulled up like it's second nature. Keep a chip in my ear like it's second nature. Big make me stare like second nature. Zest disappear like second nature. On the same block like an hour later. Whole team eating but it's only right. There's a spare plate but you're the phony type. J-Hus ugly in it, baby 1 minute. You're looking wicked. Hey yo, I started off gentle, my stroke game mental, my lifestyle eventful. I didn't mean to offend you. Fendi belt saying I style like I'm mental. Moving wild and mental. I made another 5 this week. Your money playing hide and seek. I don't even like to speak. I just tell him high and by. Slide up automatic high and die. High and die. High and die. styles on them like it's common sense. Hopped out the Benz like it's common sense. Put a monkey on my feet like it's common sense. Got gorillas in the streets like it's common sense. Stack the money heads up like it's second nature. Gotta stay pulled up like it's second nature. Keep the chip in my hair like it's second nature. Big make me sad like second nature.
The Redskins are now on the clock. The Chargers are now on the clock.
Stick jam like what happened to it. Was it not working, bruv? Why you think I'm lurking, bruv? Creep on him, lean on him. Witnesses eavesdropping, keep popping. They keep bopping like I ain't seen nothing. Don't make me upset. Reach for an object. Who's that in the passenger? Brown skin, got big body. In my face, on me. Money, I got that.
Let's go to Adam now, who's got more on the Chargers' last pick.
A college All-Star Game MVP trophy capped off an illustrious career for him. The performance was especially sweet, as many critics had criticized him for not performing well against top-tier defenses while in college. Breaking the 100-yard barrier and scoring twice against the top players in the country had critics changing their tune. He's now going to be expected to get the ball 20 to 30 times a game against some elite NFL defenses. It will be a steep learning curve for him, but sources tell me several GMs feel he's up to the challenge.
Adam, what can you tell us about the Bengals' newest player?
He's a very athletic defensive back, but if you watch his combine tape, you'll see why he's on defense and not a receiver. During the pass reaction drills at Indy, he had a hard time hauling in any of the passes thrown his way. Some passes he bobbled, some passes he missed by a fingertip, and at least one pass he flat dropped. He may be able to make a play on the ball with his agility, but I don't think he has the playmaking ability some teams want in their defensive backs. It'll be interesting to see how soon he gets on the field for this team early in the season.
Know your place, yeah, know your place, yeah. I got like right now.
The Browns are now on the clock.
Women on the cell trying to give me. I still wish it would. I still wish I'm well, yeah.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
Only check up when the checks come. My pockets looking blessed up. All the talking never stressed us.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
They talking like they never love me. They talking like they next door. I still treat them like son. Showers on the way. I've been working 25 hours every day. Pull up with the bands, have them dancing in the rain. Pull up with the bands, have them dancing in the rain. Yo. Know your place, yeah, know your place, yeah. I got like right now, I'm impatient. I got women on the cell trying to give me. I still wish it would, I still wish I'm well, yeah. Know your place, yeah, know your place, yeah. I got like right now, I'm impatient. I got women on the cell trying to give me. I still wish it would, I still wish I'm well, yeah. Promises and wishes, candles for my exes now. Ain't no fingers, let the count my blessing now. Promises and wishes, trust me, it's been different now. No rings for the things I go missing now. Promises and wishes. Why would I ever start celebrating? Why would I ever start celebrating? I'm naming all the hearts I've been breaking. I'm naming all the hearts I've been breaking. The showers on the way. I've been working 25 hours every day. Pull up with the bands, having dancing in the rain.
Seahawks pick is in. Adam, give us the latest information on this guy.
He always flashed the potential to be a playmaking defensive back in college, but scouts never saw that ability during the offseason. He didn't look confident catching the ball in reaction drills, and when he did, it took a second before he turned and ran downfield. He has the tools to be a good defender in this league, but he may not be the impact player people thought he would be immediately. We'll see if he can ever develop into that for this team.
I still wish it would, I still wish I'm well.
Let's go to Adam now, who's got more on the Steelers' last pick.
A high-flying, hard-hitting defensive back, he was the subject of much criticism earlier this year after being unable to put together consistent performances week to week. Consistency doesn't even do the roller coaster of emotions he went through justice. A better description may have been puzzling. After turning in an exceptional performance in Week 1 with 2 picks, he was downright terrible in Week 2, being burned for 3 touchdowns. Week 3 saw him force a fumble and return it for a touchdown, and then Week 4 saw him get beat on plays that led to critical scores and a close loss. The pendulum continued to swing both ways throughout the entire year, prompting one scout I spoke with to nickname him the Enigma. This pick could have a huge upside, providing this coaching staff has the patience for him to develop into a much more consistent player.
Stay on this mission. Got a vision that's endless. They told me don't be a menace. They gon' serve me a sentence, but now I'm up in it. The illest that did it. Get the cream look. Drop it in it. Give about opinions. I'm just minding my business. If I'm grinding, I'm shining. Don't got time for the gimmicks. I'm it. Squad. I'm it. Squad. I'm it. Squad. I'm it. Squad. I'm it. Squad.
The Browns are now on the clock.
Square one, it's hard to square up. Everybody got.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
Mama cries, dead sons, Lord please bless them. Back to the party, I'm just pouring my. Don't get face there before, so I live it up. When I come, better get them off. That's a floss track, better get them off. I'ma keep eating, it's a dinner rush. I'll let you finish off. Block of diamonds, I can promise I'm being honest. This being modest. I am your highness, I am the finest. You rappers, plus you a liar. Don't idolize and I don't admire. Been doing me for like ever. I'm a better me, more clever. It's a new way. We surfing, baby, new way. That's a certain, baby. Let's take a ride. Put your for the ones that die. It's vows tonight. Just you and I get lost tonight. Then lose your mind. Squad. I'm dead. Squad. I'm dead. Squad. I'm dead.
The Vikings are now on the clock.
I'm dead. Squad. I'm dead. Squad.
The Jets are now on the clock.
I'm dead. Squad. I'm dead.
The Saints are now on the clock. The Saints have made their selection. For more about him, let's go to Adam Schefter.
One of this draft's toughest players, here's a guy who played the majority of his final collegiate season with a broken foot. Long suffering with plantar fasciitis in the affected foot, doctors discovered several hairline fractures across the first, second, and third metatarsals during a routine therapy session. Translation? His foot was essentially shattered. Recovery took months, and he used the time wisely, studying film of just about every NFL team and preparing for interviews. No surprise that he blew scouts and even a few GMs away with his knowledge of NFL offensive schemes. This is an intelligent, hard-nosed defensive back who's going to make his fair share of big plays before his professional career is over.
In every hole, telling every I ain't with my wife, but if she meet her, might be a go.
Rick Flair flashy. Don't I look dashy? Don't I look classy? Don't act so sassy. I'm the man, boo. That's with or without you. With what your say. Show me what that.
I hear him talking reckless. I won't even stress. Just kill him softly with my press. Won't even address. They say I'm lonely at the top, but this the best. Hey, don't you see me out here shining, barely flexing? I hear him talking reckless. I won't even stress. Just kill him softly with my press. Won't even address. They say I'm lonely at the top, but this the best. And even if we die today, gon' live forever. Live forever.
Daddy pants ain't with 3 X's. Hit the X's. No X's on my chest, but all these diamonds got me blessed. Usually
The Redskins are now on the clock.
Stupid since 17, been counting M's. My bank accounts on Goofy. They say gave up. Now who know what the truth is? Chicago full of my garage is full of hoops. This got that southern drawl and all that. My like ball bags. The South got something to say, and all y'all can't get y'all ball back. If I ain't a hot boy, then what do you call sacks? Daddy fat, y'all never ball back. Like clocks in the wintertime, we stay eating like it's dinner time. Been feasting and feasting big, but it ain't no rhyme. We don't know the meaning of drought, cause we keep it so wet. Why swear now, it's been a while. Just speaking in general, boy, there is no formidable opponent or...
The Packers are now on the clock.
Never step on it. When you wanna mind the kind of giving hope when they down and out. Dig a hole so deep, ain't no climbing out.
Yeah, I hear him talking reckless. I won't even stress. Just kill him softly with my press. Won't even address. They say I'm lonely at the top, but this the best. Don't you see me out here shining, barely flexing? I hear him talking reckless. I won't even stress. Just kill him softly with my press. Won't even address. They say I'm lonely at the top, this the best. And even if we die today, don't live forever. Live forever.
The Chargers are now on the clock.
Yo, listen, just like I told Coco, my vision is you.
Our very own Adam Schefter has more to say about this pick.
After a string of injuries his junior year and what looked like more of the same his senior year, he made the decision to leave the team. It was a difficult choice to make, but after consulting with the trainers and coaches, it seemed like the best long-term option. His body needed more time to heal from past injuries, and opting out of his senior year helped him make a complete recovery in preparation for the draft. So even though there wasn't a lot of recent tape on him, he did put on a good show at the Combine, convincing scouts he hadn't lost a step. Some teams were concerned with his competitiveness after foregoing that final year of eligibility, but at least one team was confident enough to pick him up. Now we'll see if this team can keep him healthy and on the field.
Yeah, I've been since my early days. I've been stuck in my worldly ways. Propaganda, press, pan the camera. Please don't look at me in my face. Everybody might see my pain. Off the rail, might myself. Bored with life as aboard this plane. Steward this sex if I need help. Maybe what's your last name? Hopefully it still ain't been changed. Something about you make me not doubt you. I will silence my brain, scream louder. Asking when I'm gonna myself. Couple problems, my cash ain't help. Human issues too strong for tissue. False provider, war mask by wealth.
The Redskins are now on the clock. The Browns are now on the clock.
Deja vu from a Bayside view. I see black cats in the daytime too. I see black cats on the daytime news with handcuff wrists and his skin turned blue. I met God once at the rendezvous and felt starstruck.
Vince, the car's out front.
Got things to do, got to make my moves. I can't miss my flight to miss you too, boo. First class seats is overrated. Won't go lest they overpay us. Nowadays I'm overdating my street folk. Stay well acquainted, their morning is calling me. Good vibrations is all I need, all I need, all I need. Move your body if you came here to party. If not, then pardon me. How I'm supposed to have a good time with death and destruction's all I see. Out the sight, I'm out in my mind. The sound of sunshine is calling me. Good vibrations is all I need, all I need, all I need. Party people, yeah.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
See you dance, party people, yeah. Party people, I like to see you dance. Party people, move. Party people, I like to see you groove. This is how we do.
The Redskins are now on the clock.
Like the way it sounds, Frody? Just let me breathe for a minute, man. Just let me breathe. Just let me breathe for a minute, man. Just let me breathe for a minute. Just let me breathe. It's too hot, drop the top off the wagon. Lay back, fire like dragon. Man, I'm flying past Saturn. Out of here like I ain't that savage. Two. It's like I'm at the studio with Michael. You can hear me dancing on the beat. Bam, bam, about to put a mansion on the beach. 100 Latins in your lobby. That's what happens when you're around with body. And I put that in my mommy. I will never give my heart to a I can just make a dance that goes with this song. Then I'ma be on. Basic going.
The Titans are now on the clock.
Everywhere going dance to it. Just let me breathe for a minute. Just let me breathe for a minute. Just let me breathe for a minute. White Range Rover in it.
The Eagles are now on the clock.
For a minute. Just let me breathe for a minute, man. Just let me breathe for a minute. White Range Rover ball in it. You gotta, baby, shake that, shake that, shake that. You gotta, baby, shake that.
Pick's been made. Let's go to Adam Schefter to hear more about the player.
Like football, rugby's a sport that's played with guys of all shapes and sizes. In his case, he was one of the big guys pushing and pulling blocks in the center of the pitch. He was playing rugby for a university in Australia before he was recruited to transfer and play football for 2 seasons here in America. His first year was spent adjusting to the game, getting used to the different rules and how to play his position properly. The guy even had to adjust how he tackled now that he had to wear pads and a helmet. But his second year is really where we started to see what he could potentially do. He's a physical player at the line of scrimmage. The team was able to pick up a good addition to its line with a bit of an interesting history.
Just let me breathe for a minute. Just let me breathe for a minute. Just let me breathe for a minute. White Range Rover in it. Let me breathe for a minute. Just let me breathe for a minute, man. Just let me breathe for a minute. White Range Rover in it.
I look up, so many. Oh my God. So many. I done made sacrifices. So many sacrifices. Straight up. I done gave up so much free time, knowing time ain't free. I sacrificed it. My girl showed me love, she know I make sacrifices. And if it's real love, then you make sacrifices. To get ahead, man, you gotta make sacrifices. That's how hungry my appetite is. Yeah. What you telling me? I sense the jealousy. I got telepathy.
The Jaguars are now on the clock.
Felony forward thinking, yeah, my mind is ahead of me. Mama said it's gonna be whatever you let it be. It's some homies I grew up with that's dead to me. It's some that I just made a debt to me. What's in common is they both pay respect to me. I get in my way from Friday to Friday. My girl is a mix of Aaliyah and Sade. I came a long way from that Marvin and I pull out the driveway like I'm in a car chase speeding. And if my she know I'm leaving. No text, no call, but at airplane mode. Code, no P code, no time to change clothes. Same clothes, love if you're living by the same code. G code, leave. You do that to me, back to my destiny. Penthouse, bird's eye view, that's a nest for me. I got my.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
Somebody I never need. Sacrifices. So many sacrifices. Straight up. I done gave up so much free time, knowing time ain't free. I sacrificed it. My girl showed me love, she know I make sacrifices. And if it's real love, then you make sacrifices. To get ahead, man, you gotta make sacrifices. That's how hungry my appetite is. Yeah. I cut the drama out my energy. Focus on it, inner me, never on it, enemy. And I done sacrificed my own time. I done sacrificed my own mind. I done sacrificed the club life. I done sacrificed my love life. Look, I cut the drama out my energy. Focus on it, inner me, never on it, enemy. And I done sacrificed my own time. I done sacrificed my own mind. I done sacrificed the club life. I done sacrificed my love life.
Also, I done sacrificed the thug life. Diamond shining, ain't no dull light. Drop my top to get my mind right. Pull up in the Rari loud pipe. Them the dime, my wrist a Hyundai. Ooh, yeah, Gucci Python. Ooh, yeah, she play with her. Yeah, I bought that new charm. Pop on, I told her come see about me. Come on, come see me. The devil had entered my soul, my mama had beat it out. The devil, my mama. Remember my grandma had told me you better be somebody. Hop in my seats, massaging. Watch how I lead the posse. I made an M deposit.
Paid all these dues with the game. Sacrifice your strides for that stain. Sacrifice. Heard you sacrifice your life for that change. She sacrificed that money for white.
The Broncos are now on the clock.
We up one, bad, dear savage. Take her to the mall and buy some. That's gonna wanna make your friends come. Make way with the timing. Tell me. Why can't y'all recognize that we all came from sacrifice? Why can't y'all recognize that we all came from sacrifice? 10 toes, yeah, you gotta stay down, eh? Just some yawn, looking for a way out, eh? People watching, yeah, I gotta skip town, eh? Hit my phone if
the Jets are now on the clock.
Sacrifices. So many sacrifices. Straight up. I done gave up so much free time, knowing time ain't free. I sacrificed.